Have you felt more tired lately? Waking up at night to use the bathroom? Or noticed your body just doesn't recover the way it used to, yet every test still says you're fine? I'm Dr. Richard Hale, and I need you to hear this carefully because what I'm about to tell you is something most people in America don't realize until it's already too late. Your kidneys don't fail suddenly. They break down quietly, meal by meal, choice by choice, long before pain, long before dialysis, long before any red flags show up on your lab work. And right now, millions of people are unknowingly accelerating that damage with foods they believe are healthy. This isn't about extreme detoxes, juice cleanses, or expensive supplements. In fact, those can make things worse. What actually protects your kidneys is far simpler, and almost no one is talking about it. Today, I'm going to show you 3 everyday foods hiding in plain sight that can help your body flush toxins naturally and reduce the daily strain on your kidneys. If you stay with me until the end, you'll understand why small, smart choices made consistently can dramatically change the direction of your kidney health over time. When kidney damage begins, it almost never feels dramatic. There's no sharp pain, no sudden collapse, no moment where your body screams for attention. Instead, it shows up quietly in small lab changes, subtle fatigue, restless sleep, and the feeling that your body just isn't bouncing back the way it used to. And one of the most overlooked drivers of this slow decline is something people almost never talk about: mineral overload happening meal by meal, day after day. This is where white mushrooms matter far more than most people realize. When kidney function weakens even slightly, the body loses its ability to properly regulate potassium and phosphorus. These minerals don't disappear. They accumulate in the bloodstream, triggering low-grade inflammation, damaging delicate kidney structures, and accelerating long-term decline. What makes this dangerous is that many foods considered healthy are naturally high in these minerals, especially vegetables and plant-based protein sources that people increase when they're trying to eat better. I've seen this pattern repeatedly. A patient in his early 60s came to me confused and frustrated. He had cut out processed foods, stopped red meat, loaded his plate with vegetables, and drank green smoothies every morning. On paper, his diet looked perfect, but his kidney markers kept drifting in the wrong direction. Not enough to cause panic, but enough to signal trouble ahead. When we looked closer, the issue wasn't what he added to his diet. It was what he overloaded. Too many mineral-dense foods day after day, forcing already stressed kidneys to work overtime. White mushrooms solve part of that problem not because they're powerful or exotic, but because of what they don't contain. Unlike many vegetables, white mushrooms are naturally low in potassium and phosphorus. That makes them one of the rare plant foods that support nutrition without increasing filtration pressure on weakened kidneys. For people with compromised kidney function, this distinction is critical. Every meal either adds to the strain or quietly reduces it. But white mushrooms don't just reduce harm, they actively support protection. They contain ergothioneine, a potent antioxidant that helps neutralize oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is one of the most silent accelerators of kidney damage. It doesn't cause immediate symptoms, but over time it injures kidney cells and reduces their ability to filter efficiently. By helping counter this process, white mushrooms support cellular stability in an organ that depends on long-term consistency to survive. Another reason white mushrooms are so effective is how easy they are to digest. Heavy digestion creates metabolic byproducts that must be filtered by the kidneys. When digestion becomes inefficient, the kidneys are forced to pick up the slack. Light, gentle foods reduce this burden upstream. White mushrooms provide a satisfying texture and volume without overwhelming the digestive system, which indirectly protects kidney function. Preparation matters more than most people think. Frying mushrooms in heavy oils or drowning them in salty sauces completely cancels out their benefits. But lightly sautéed with a small amount of olive oil, steamed or added to soups, white mushrooms remain kidney-friendly and easy to tolerate. For most people, consistency matters more than portion size. Including white mushrooms 2 to 4 times per week, especially as a replacement for high-sodium or mineral-dense side dishes, creates steady long-term support rather than short-term spikes. White mushrooms also combine well with other kidney-friendly foods. Pairing them with onions, garlic, cabbage, cauliflower, or egg whites keeps mineral levels low while supporting inflammation control. These combinations don't feel restrictive. They feel normal. And that's important because sustainable kidney care doesn't come from extremes. It comes from small, repeatable choices that quietly reduce stress every single day. Now, it's important to be honest here. White mushrooms are not a cure. They won't repair damaged kidneys overnight, and they won't reverse advanced disease. But what they do extremely well is reduce daily pressure. They help create a nutritional environment where kidneys are no longer being pushed to compensate at every meal. Over time, that reduction in strain can slow progression and preserve function far longer than most people expect. This is why white mushrooms deserve the first spot in this discussion. They're affordable. They're widely available. They don't require supplements or extreme dietary changes. And most importantly, they help kidneys work less, not more. That's exactly what vulnerable kidneys need. But here's the part most people miss. Reducing mineral overload is only half the battle. Because even if you lighten the kidney's workload at the filter, toxins can still be pouring into the bloodstream from somewhere else entirely. And unless that source is addressed, kidney stress continues quietly in the background. In the next section, we'll look at a food that doesn't help the kidneys by filtering but by stopping toxins before they ever reach them. And that difference may be more important than anything we've discussed so far. If you've been told that protecting your kidneys is all about what the kidneys can filter, tolerate, or survive, you've only been given half the truth. Because long before toxins ever reach your kidneys, they pass through somewhere else first. And if that system breaks down, your kidneys are forced into non-stop emergency mode, even if you're eating all the right foods. That system is your gut. This is where Enoki mushrooms change the conversation entirely. While white mushrooms reduce overload at the kidney level, Enoki mushrooms work upstream by stopping toxins before they ever enter the bloodstream. And this matters more than most people realize. When digestion is inefficient waste products that should exit through the intestines instead leak into circulation. Once they're in the blood, the kidneys have no choice but to filter them. Day after day, that silent compensation accelerates kidney decline. I remember a woman in her mid-50s who came in exhausted, bloated, and frustrated. She was eating clean, watching her sodium and staying hydrated. Her kidney labs weren't alarming, but they weren't improving either. What stood out wasn't her kidneys, it was her digestion. Heavy meals left her uncomfortable. Fiber made things worse, and her body was quietly redirecting digestive waste into the bloodstream. When we shifted toward gentler, more digestible foods, including Enoki mushrooms, something changed. Her digestion stabilized first, then her inflammation markers followed, and only after that did her kidney numbers stop drifting upward. Enoki mushrooms are naturally light, delicate, and low in mineral content when eaten in appropriate portions. For stressed kidneys, that alone is valuable. But what truly sets them apart is their effect on the gut-kidney axis. Enoki mushrooms contain dietary fibers that support smoother digestion and more efficient waste elimination. When waste exits through the gut as it should, fewer toxins circulate in the blood. That directly lowers the filtration burden placed on the kidneys. This isn't theoretical. Research has repeatedly shown that poor gut barrier function increases systemic inflammation and toxin load, two major drivers of kidney damage. Inflammatory compounds and metabolic byproducts irritate the tiny blood vessels inside the kidneys, slowly reducing filtration capacity. By supporting digestive efficiency, Enoki mushrooms help calm this process at its source, rather than forcing the kidneys to clean up the mess later. There's another layer most people overlook. Blood sugar instability plays a significant role in kidney decline even in people who are not diabetic. Rapid glucose spikes damage the kidney's delicate filtering structures and increase oxidative stress. Mushroom-derived fibers, including those found in Enoki mushrooms, have been associated with improved blood sugar regulation and reduced inflammatory signaling. That means fewer spikes, less vascular damage, and a more stable internal environment for the kidneys over time. Preparation is critical. Enoki mushrooms should always be gently cooked. Light heating softens their fibers, improves digestibility, and reduces the risk of bloating or discomfort, especially in people with sensitive digestion. Raw or undercooked Enoki mushrooms can irritate the gut and negate their benefits. When prepared properly, they become one of the easiest vegetables for the body to process, providing nourishment without digestive strain. Portion size still matters. Enoki mushrooms are supportive, but they're not meant to be eaten in excess. Including them 2 to 3 times per week is enough to deliver consistent benefits without overwhelming the system. They work best in simple low-sodium meals paired with mild vegetables and gentle protein sources. The goal is not to stimulate digestion aggressively, but to let it run smoothly and quietly. Here's the key takeaway: most people miss. Kidneys don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they're forced to compensate for problems elsewhere in the body, especially in the gut. Enoki mushrooms help remove that burden. They don't push detox. They don't stimulate aggressively. They simply allow digestion to do its job, so the kidneys don't have to do it for them. And this is why addressing digestion is not optional in kidney care. You can lower minerals, you can reduce sodium, but if toxins are still leaking into the bloodstream every day, the kidneys remain under constant pressure no matter how careful you are. But here's where things become even more important. Because even when mineral overload is reduced and digestive toxins are under control, many kidneys continue to decline for one final reason that almost no one talks about. It's not about filtering harder, it's about calming inflammation and restoring balance. And that last piece may determine whether kidney stress stabilizes or progresses toward dialysis. Stay with me. Even after mineral overload is reduced and digestive toxins are brought under control, many kidneys still continue to decline. And this is the moment where most people get confused. They've done everything right, yet fatigue lingers, swelling comes and goes, and lab numbers refuse to fully stabilize. That's because there's one final factor that determines whether kidneys recover or quietly slip toward failure. And that factor is inflammation that never truly turns off. This is where straw mushrooms become critically important, especially for kidneys that are already sensitive, stressed, or aging. Not every kidney needs stronger nutrition. Some kidneys need calmer support. Straw mushrooms work not by pushing detox harder, but by lowering the constant inflammatory pressure that slowly wears kidney tissue down over time. I once spoke with a man in his late 60s who described it perfectly. He said, "I don't feel sick. I just feel constantly inflamed." His diet was clean, his sodium was controlled, his digestion had improved, but his kidneys still felt overwhelmed. When we looked closer, the issue wasn't what he was eating. It was how hard his body was working to process it. Every meal demanded effort. Every system was slightly overstimulated. His kidneys never truly got to rest. Straw mushrooms change that dynamic. They are naturally low in potassium, remarkably easy to digest, and gentle on the entire metabolic system. When digestion is inefficient or irritating, more metabolic waste leaks into the bloodstream. That waste must be filtered by the kidneys, increasing daily strain. Straw mushrooms move smoothly through the digestive tract, limiting how much waste ever reaches circulation in the first place. What truly distinguishes straw mushrooms is how calming they are, not just for digestion, but for the immune system as well. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the most powerful drivers of long-term kidney damage. Unlike acute inflammation, which resolves quickly, this slow-burning inflammatory state silently damages kidney tissue over years. Straw mushrooms help stabilize immune signaling rather than overstimulate it. That balance protects delicate filtering structures from constant inflammatory wear. There's also an important hydration component most people overlook. Straw mushrooms have a high natural water content. Foods that contain water support efficient waste movement through normal fluid pathways. This encourages healthy urine flow and assists toxin elimination without forcing the kidneys to concentrate or overwork. It's hydration that works with the body, not against it. This matters because many people try to flush their kidneys by drinking excessive amounts of water. For vulnerable kidneys, that approach can backfire. Straw mushrooms provide hydration in a gentler, more physiologic way, supporting fluid balance without overwhelming renal processing capacity. Preparation is essential here. Straw mushrooms must always be thoroughly cooked. Proper cooking improves texture, enhances digestibility, and ensures they remain gentle on the stomach. Undercooked mushrooms can irritate digestion and trigger inflammatory responses that undo their benefits. When prepared simply boiled, simmered, or added to light soups, they become one of the safest foods for people with kidney sensitivity. Portion size still matters. Straw mushrooms are supportive, but they're not meant to be consumed in large quantities. 2 to 3 servings per week is enough to deliver consistent calming benefits without overwhelming digestion. They pair best with mild vegetables and simple starches that provide energy without adding mineral load or inflammatory pressure. Here's the deeper truth. Most people never hear kidney decline is rarely caused by one dramatic mistake. It's caused by years of low-level stress minerals, slightly too high toxins leaking slowly into the blood, inflammation, never fully settling down. Straw mushrooms address that final piece. They don't stimulate, they don't excite, they allow the body to downshift. And this is where everything comes together. White mushrooms reduce mineral overload. Enoki mushrooms reduce toxin entry at the gut level. Straw mushrooms calm inflammation and restore balance. Together, they create an internal environment where kidneys are no longer forced to compensate every hour of every day. But just knowing which foods help isn't enough, because the real outcome depends on how consistently these choices are applied and whether you understand the one simple habit that determines if kidney stress truly stabilizes or keeps progressing silently. And that final insight may decide whether kidneys age slowly or whether dialysis becomes inevitable. Stay with me. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this: your kidneys are not fragile because they're weak. They become fragile because they've been carrying too much for too long without anyone noticing. And if you're watching this right now, that already tells me something important. You care. You're paying attention. And that alone puts you ahead of most people. Kidney health isn't about fixing everything overnight. It's not about fear extremes or chasing miracle cures. It's about giving your body the conditions it needs to stop fighting and start stabilizing. Small changes made consistently can slow damage, reduce stress, and give your kidneys a chance to function longer and better than you may have been told was possible. If you're dealing with early warning signs, fatigue, swelling, nighttime urination, or lab numbers that are not terrible but not great, please remember this: those are not failures. They are signals. And signals mean there is still time to respond. The goal is not perfection. The goal is direction. Take care of your kidneys the way you would take care of someone you love. Be gentle. Be consistent. Choose foods that reduce strain instead of adding to it. Support digestion. Calm inflammation. And most importantly, don't ignore small warning signs just because they don't feel urgent yet. Kidney damage is rarely loud, but prevention can be powerful when done early. If you found this video helpful, I strongly encourage you to save it. Not because you need to memorize everything today, but because kidney health is a long-term journey, and you may want to come back to this information when questions come up or when someone you care about needs guidance. Saving it now could make a real difference later. And if you want clear, practical, science-based information about kidney health without fear-mongering, without extreme diets, and without confusion, make sure to subscribe to this channel. We regularly share the latest medical insights, simple food strategies, and lifestyle guidance to help protect kidney function and support long-term health. Subscribing helps ensure you don't miss the next video that could answer a question you haven't even thought to ask yet. If you're comfortable, leave a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from, or whether you're caring for your own kidneys or helping a loved one. We read the comments, and your questions often shape future videos. You're not alone in this, and you don't have to figure everything out by yourself. Here's the hopeful truth I want to leave you with. Kidneys don't need to be pushed harder to last longer. They need to be supported smarter. When you reduce daily stress, calm inflammation, and choose foods that work with your body instead of against it, you change the trajectory. Not dramatically overnight, but meaningfully over time. Protecting your kidneys isn't about fear of the future. It's about giving yourself more good years, more energy, and more stability moving forward. And those outcomes are still possible for far more people than they realize. Take care of yourself, stay curious, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next video.